Green Bay City leaders moving forward with proposed changes to the city's short-term rental ordinance.
These updates would clarify permit requirements, spell out new enforcement measures aimed at addressing neighborhood concerns. Our Victoria Frazier explains what's included in the proposal and what happens next.
This will help raise the bar for all hosts to do things the right way and make it very clear for all guests, again, what will and will not be accepted.
Short-term rentals have become more common across Green Bay, with roughly 450 properties bringing in visitors, but also raising concerns from neighbors about noise, parking, and oversight. City leaders say the proposed changes are designed to set clearer expectations for operators while creating a more defined path for enforcement when issues happen.
Now it's creating a little bit more transparency in where these short-term rentals are located within the community, and then in tandem with that, providing some additional contact information so that if you see a problem, something you're experiencing within your neighborhood, you know exactly who to call.
The Green Bay Plan Commission proposed changes include house rules for guests outlining parking requirements and restrictions, noise limitations, and contact information for a local representative. The city will also maintain a public online geographic information system map listing the locations of permitted short-term rentals, the name and contact information of the permit holder or local contact, and the date the permit was issued. Mark Danon is a member of the Green Bay Short-Term Rental Alliance and operates 14 short-term rentals across northeast Wisconsin. He says it's important for guests to understand house rules when booking a rental.
We don't tolerate parties, we don't tolerate large groups or gatherings or events. And quite honestly, in the 5 years that I've been in short-term rentals, I can count on one hand the number of problems that we've had to encounter.
City officials say the proposed changes will help neighbors communicate with rental operators while also holding them accountable.
A lot of times the property owner may have not known that there was a police call to their house, that the guests were doing something to make the neighbors upset. So this kind of keeps them in the loop. The
ordinance would strengthen the permit application and renewal process and establish a structured correction meeting before any suspension or revocation could occur. The proposed changes now head to the Green Bay Common Council for consideration on March 3rd. Reporting in Green Bay, Victoria Frazier, Action 2 News.